fine. You can walk home, bitches.
That's where you're going, fat ass.
A movie that took $17 million to make has since made over $250 million. The woman whose book made all of it possible earned exactly $0 from the profit because Hollywood claims it lost money. The villain was told she wasn't fat enough. The lead actress fought to play someone else. And the original Aaron Samuels showed up to his audition, red in a hat, mumbled through it, and got fired the same afternoon. Oh, that line about the hot dog you've been quoting for 20 years? It originally was X-rated and had to be cut from the script. These are 12 weird facts about the teen hit Mean Girls. If deep dive behind-the-scenes content is your thing, that's so fetch. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe. We do this daily, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, get in, loser, we're going shopping. Mean Girls opens April 30th, 2004, debuts at number 1, and never really leaves. It's a sharp, funny, and somehow still stinging portrait of the social warfare of American high school. A comedy that doubles as a documentary about the specific cruelty girls are trained to perform on each other. Katie is a homeschooled kid from Africa who lands in the jungle of a suburban Illinois high school and gets eaten alive before she learns to bite back.
What is happening to the world?
But after Freaky Friday, the filmmakers didn't think fans would accept Lindsay as a villain.
Casting is perfect. So I'm really excited.
Regina is the queen bee who runs North Shore High like a military operation. Gretchen is the loyal lieutenant barely keeping it together. Karen Smith is the wild card whose inner life is genuinely unknowable. The plastic's grip on the school is only challenged when Katie's real friends, Janice and Damien, convince her to go undercover. Tina Fey wrote the movie, cast herself as the calculus teacher, even though she sucks in math in real life, and later admitted publicly she had been the mean girl in real life. Almost nothing about this production happened the way anyone planned. Fact 1. Lindsay Lohan was cast as Regina, then switched sides. Katie Heron is not the role Lindsay Lohan walks in asking to play. In 2003, she is one of the hottest teen actresses in Hollywood, just off the massive success of Freaky Friday, and she wants the villain.
I don't know if anyone told you about me. I'm a new student here. My name is Katie Heron.
Talk to me again and I'll kick your ass.
Regina George, the alpha predator, the heels, the burn book, the power to make other people physically shrink in her presence. Director Mark Waters is actually with her on it. He tells everyone who will listen that Lohan's energy matches Regina perfectly. Forceful, magnetic, and dangerous in a way that the sweet new girl simply is not. But then Paramount chairman Sherry Lansing calls it. Lohan's Freaky Friday audience, Lansing says directly, will not accept her as a villain. The studio has a commercial investment in keeping her likable. The filmmakers sell Katie to Lohan by pointing out she has significantly more screen time, a far more comfortable wardrobe, sneakers instead of heels, and an arc that ends with her becoming the exact thing she's been fighting against, a richer story. Lohan agrees. According to Waters, she is a little bummed she can't get more plastic fashion moments. The studio protected her image so carefully that within 3 years of the film's release, real life had turned Lohan into exactly the character they wouldn't let her play. You can't write that. Fact 2. McAdams was first told she was too damn old. Rachel McAdams walks into her Mean Girls audition to read for Katie Heron. She is 25. Katie is 16. Mark Waters looks at her and says it plainly. She's a movie star, but way too old for this character. He immediately flips her to Regina. Then something else happens, something Waters doesn't plan for. When McAdams reads in the same room as Lohan, Lohan gets visibly nervous, intimidated. She's playing it cool and not quite pulling it off. Waters clocks it instantly. The younger actress, rattled by the older one, who carries the casual authority of someone who has already figured out every room she's ever been in. That live dynamic, captured in a casting session, becomes the engine of the entire film. Lorne Michaels later puts it in a single line, "Only nice girls can play mean girls." McAdams, by all accounts warm and generous off camera, makes Regina's malice land because audiences sense, somewhere, that this is a performance. If McAdams actually were Regina, the character would be unwatchable. Within a year, she is filming The Notebook. The woman told she was too old for a teen movie becomes the decade's most sought-after actress. The rejection built the icon. Fact 3. Mom and daughter were only 7 years apart. Poehler is 32 during filming. McAdams is 25. They are playing a mother-daughter pair separated by less than a decade. Faye pushes for Polar past initial studio resistance and past her own concern that the age gap simply won't read on screen. It reads as something better. A woman so desperate to stay young and relevant that she has collapsed the distance between parent and child into something genuinely unsettling. Mrs. George doesn't want to be her daughter's mother, she wants to be her best friend. That's not a gag, that's a character study. And the gag works precisely because Polar looks like she could be McAdams' slightly older sister. The cool mom who insists she's not a regular mom is almost the same age as her daughter. The most intentional casting decision in the film might be the one that looks like an accident. Fact 4. A dog really chewed on Polar's boob. The scene where Mrs. George's Chihuahua gnaws on her silicone breast implant is one of the film's most perfectly absurd character moments. A single image that tells you everything you need to know about where Regina learned everything she knows. Getting there requires a strategy. The challenge? Get a small dog to attack a prosthetic body part on cue, consistently, across multiple takes, without injuring the actress. The solution is direct. A crew member pins a cocktail wiener, a small bite-sized hot dog, inside Polar's bra, nestled against the fake breast. The Chihuahua smells the meat, follows pure instinct, and lunges at the target with exactly the energy the scene needs. Seyfried, who is present for the filming, describes it years later. She genuinely thinks the dog is going to tear Polar apart. Polar is trying to deliver her lines while this animal is actively chomping through a prosthetic secured with lunch meat. And she does not break. Not once. She remains the cool mom throughout. Polar, at the time only 7 years older than her on-screen daughter McAdams, stays completely in character while a Chihuahua attacks her chest. Fact 5. The first Aaron Samuels actor got fired. Jonathan Bennett is not the first actor cast as Aaron Samuels. He is the man who gets the role because someone else gets fired. Bennett nails his initial audition. Director Waters reportedly tells him directly, "You just made my lead actress blush, you're going to get this part." Then his agent calls. The production goes with someone else. A blue-eyed, blonde actor who fits the studio's preferred physical type. Bennett goes back to folding sweaters at his job at Abercrombie & Fitch. The chosen actor arrives in Toronto for the table read. What follows is a masterclass in professional self-destruction. He shows up in baggy sweatpants, a hoodie, and a hat he does not take off. He walks over to Tim Meadows and asks who he is, apparently either not knowing or not caring about one of the film's adult cast members. He mumbles through the entire reading. Lorne Michaels is sitting across the table, a man who runs Saturday Night Live, who has watched thousands of performers walk into rooms and either command them or collapse. He watches all of this and makes a decision. The actor is fired the same afternoon. Within hours, someone calls Bennett, reportedly still on shift at Abercrombie, reportedly shirtless, to tell him he has the part after all. He flies to Toronto that night. To this day, the original Aaron has never been publicly named. Francis, who witnessed the whole thing, says only, "He's someone you would have known." Fact 6. Regina wasn't fat enough. The scene where Regina George emerges in a tank top that no longer fits her body, the consequence of Katie secretly replacing her nutrition bars with weight gain supplements, requires a fat suit. The costume department builds one. McAdams arrives on set in it. Director Waters looks at her and says it isn't enough. He needs more. Much more voluptuous in the recollection of people present. McAdams and a crew member walk off set, find the nearest bathroom, and begin stuffing toilet paper, standard issue bathroom tissue, into her Juicy Couture tracksuit. They pack it into the waistband, the hips, and every spot Waters has indicated he needs more volume. They walk back out. Waters is satisfied. The scene that has been analyzed for decades as a commentary on body image, beauty standards, and the weaponization of women's weight against each other, the scene that makes Regina momentarily sympathetic and fully, painfully human, is achieved with a 5-minute bathroom break and a roll of toilet paper. No CGI, no elaborate prosthetics, toilet paper. Fact 7. This all-American teen classic was filmed in Canada to dodge a huge tax bill. Mean Girls is set in Evanston, Illinois, a wealthy Chicago suburb with leafy streets and exactly the kind of manicured social hierarchy Faye uses as her template for North Shore High. Not one frame of that school is in Illinois, or anywhere in America. Every hallway, every locker, every cafeteria table is filmed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Production designer Anastasia Massaro assembles North Shore High from 4 separate Toronto area institutions. Main school interiors at 180 Shaw Street in central Toronto. The gym, the Christmas talent show, the Jingle Bell Rock performance, the chaotic all-school assembly at Malvern Collegiate Institute in Scarborough. The exterior shots viewers associate with the building at Etobicoke Collegiate on the west side of the city. Regina's mansion, the walk-in closet, the Cool Mom kitchen, the house parties, at a private residence at 11 High Point Road in North York, Ontario. The reason is financial. Canada's film tax credits and the lower Canadian dollar in the early 2000s stretched the $17 million budget dramatically further. Principal photography runs September 27th to November 25th, 2003. The Toronto autumn is gray, cold, and sufficiently Midwestern that no American audience ever notices. The most American teen movie of the decade is shot entirely in Canada. Fact 8. The best teen movie of the decade originated from a parenting book. The screenplay is not based on a novel. It's not based on a true story. It is based on a non-fiction self-help guide written for the mothers of teenage girls. In 2002, educator Rosalind Wiseman publishes Queen Bees and Wannabes, a manual that maps the social hierarchies girls build, the roles they assign each other inside those hierarchies, and the damage those structures inflict on everyone involved. It becomes a New York Times bestseller. Tina Fey reads about it in the New York Times, calls Lorne Michaels, and they option the rights. Then Fey sits down and writes an entirely original story from scratch, borrowing only the social taxonomy from Wiseman's research, drawing the rest from her own memories of high school in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. There is no plot in Wiseman's book, no characters, no burn book, no plastics. Fey invents all of it. The working title at one point is simply Homeschooled. Fey later admits she wasn't just studying the mean girl, she was the mean girl. She says it without flinching. I admit it openly. The screenplay is not a condemnation from the outside, it's a confession from the inside. The woman who wrote every word of this film is describing something she participated in. That's why it still stings 20 years later. Fact 9. The math teacher didn't understand math. Tina Fey makes a deliberate choice when she casts herself in Mean Girls. She will play a math teacher. Not an English teacher, not a drama coach, not a guidance counselor, a calculus teacher. The decision is ideological. She wants the film's most explicitly feminist character, the adult who sees through the plastics, who calls out the cruelty, who holds Katie accountable, to be a woman who is good at something girls are told they can't do. There is a significant problem with this plan. Fey cannot do calculus. She confirms it without hesitation. She does not understand a word her character is saying in any of those scenes. To solve it practically, she contacts a friend whose partner teaches calculus at a high school in the Bronx. He sends his actual lesson plans. Fey memorizes the equations and the pedagogical patter, delivers them on camera, and has no idea what any of it means. The woman who writes every line of the screenplay, who builds an entire fictional high school from scratch, who creates the plastics, the burn book, and the rules of Girl World, stands in front of a classroom performing mathematics she cannot explain, trusting a stranger's notes to make her look competent. Ms. Norbury is still one of the film's most convincing characters. The authenticity of the performance transcends the technical content. Fey makes you believe she cares. That turns out to be the only math that matters. Fact 10. Damien was supposed to punch Simon Cowell. The ending you know. Damien collecting his award at the Math Expo, Katie making peace with the spring fling crown, is not the ending that's written first. In an early draft of the script, Damien gets a very different send-off. He auditions for American Idol. Simon Cowell is at the judges' table. Cowell looks at Damien and says something cruel about his weight. Damien runs onto the stage and punches Simon Cowell on camera. Actor Daniel Franzese reveals this years later and says he still finds it hilarious that it got written and never shot. The reasons it gets cut are never officially confirmed, likely a mix of legal exposure and the logistics of featuring a real television personality in a scripted punch. The scene is removed before filming begins. Damien's arc gets wrapped up quietly at the Science Expo instead. Somewhere in an early draft of the most quotable teen movie of the decade, the fan-favorite character closes his story by punching the most famous talent show judge in the world directly in the face. And nobody got to see it. Fact 11. Tim Meadows broke his hand and it saved his character. Before a single frame of Mean Girls shoots, Tim Meadows breaks his hand. This is a practical problem. He's playing Principal Duval and he will be visibly injured on camera. The production needs an explanation that is both plausible and funny. The context matters here. The studio has been trying to cut Meadows from the film entirely. Paramount has a history of SNL-branded films underperforming, and Meadows himself had starred in The Ladies' Man, a Paramount-distributed SNL spin-off that flopped badly just 4 years earlier. Director Waters fights to keep him in. The studio keeps pushing back. Meadows nearly doesn't make it to set at all. Then he shows up with a broken hand, and the writing team gives him carpal tunnel syndrome, a running complaint about his wrist, a stress ball, a small nerve that never cooperates. The principal, who shuffles papers and mutters about his afflicted hand, becomes one of the film's most quietly beloved recurring gags. A man who almost got cut ends up with a character detail built around his actual injury. The studio tried to remove him, the universe gave him a broken bone, the writers gave him a punchline. Fact 12. Author Wiseman got no profit money from a $250 million movie. Rosalind Wiseman writes the book that seeds an empire. The 2004 film grosses $130 million worldwide. The 2018 Broadway musical runs for 695 performances. A film adaptation of that musical opens in 2024. The Mean Girls franchise generates, by most estimates, well over $250 million across all its forms. Wiseman's total financial compensation for all of it? Approximately $400,000. Her contract includes net profit points, a percentage that kicks in once the film is declared profitable. Paramount informs her that Mean Girls, a film that returns 665% on its $17 million production budget, has generated no net profits. Hollywood accounting allows studios to load production and distribution costs onto a film's ledger in ways that declare virtually any film unprofitable regardless of gross revenue. Wiseman owns profit points in a film Hollywood says never profited. When she finally speaks publicly, she says she has received nothing beyond her initial advance. She says she approaches Faye directly and asks her to use her industry leverage to push Paramount toward more equitable treatment. Faye, Wiseman says, agrees to help, then goes quiet. Wiseman describes coming to think of Faye as a queen bee, using the exact taxonomy Faye built the franchise on. By 2023, Wiseman's lawyers are engaged. Her attorney calls the treatment nothing short of shameful. The woman who wrote the manual on how girls weaponize social power against each other ends up on the receiving end of exactly that. The dispute remains unresolved. The franchise keeps generating revenue. Bonus fact: making out with a hot dog was the clean version. When Faye submits the finished screenplay to Paramount and the film goes to the MPAA for a rating, the board comes back with a problem. As written, certain lines push the movie into R-rated territory. For a film whose entire commercial model depends on reaching teenagers directly, including those under 17 who need parental accompaniment for an R rating, this cannot stand. The entry in the Burn Book about a girl who made out with a hot dog is already one of the film's most quoted lines. What the MPAA makes Faye change is the fact that in the original screenplay, that girl is not making out with a hot dog. She is masturbating with it. The version you grew up quoting is the network edit. The original is something that should have never been considered for a teen film. The film that became a cultural institution, the one with the rules, the quotes, the catchphrases embedded in everyday language, is the tame version. Tina Fey wrote something sharper and cruder, and the ratings board made her sand it down. The PG-13 Mean Girls is the one that changed pop culture. The R-rated version exists only in an original screenplay and a ratings complaint no one was allowed to see. The Burn Book had more pages than you could imagine. Mean Girls was supposed to be a modest teen comedy on a lean $17 million budget. What it becomes is a cultural institution built from a parenting guide, a casting war, a chihuahua attack, a roll of toilet paper, and a fired actor who never got named. Faye didn't write a film about girls in general. She wrote a confession about herself and cast people brave and precise enough to make it ring true for everyone who watched. So if you loved pulling back the curtain on all of this, hit like, smash subscribe, and tell us in the comments which fact made you stop and rewind. Was it the actress that wasn't fat enough? The hot dog? The man who punched nobody? We want to know.